welcome to my channel. If it's your first time watching, welcome. So in today's video, I'll be doing a haul of all the books that I've purchased recently. But before we do anything, first things first. Bubble tea! Oh my gosh. Honestly, I feel like I can't start the day without a bubble tea. It's like coffee for me. FYI, I don't drink coffee. I don't know, I just don't like the bitter taste of coffee. I prefer tea or bubble tea. This is a milk tea, by the way. I feel like I've drunk like the same drink a few times on this channel. I can't start this video without, you know, the first kick of sugar in my system, so let's go. So the first book I have here to show you is Before the Coffee Gets Cold by Toshikazu Kawaguchi. I am currently reading this book. It just sounded so kind of cute. This is a translated work and of course it's by a Japanese author. It's kind of slice of life with magical realism elements entwined into it. This story is basically set in Tokyo and in this kind of dingy alleyway somewhere. There's this cafe and it's got this phenomenon and you know, it kind of just serves its usual coffees and whatnot, but it's also known to be able to give people the ability to travel back in time. However, of course, with any sort of time traveling elements in any sort of media, there are limitations, and one of the limitations is that there is a time limit to how long you can time travel back to the past for, and it says it in the title, you have to come back before the coffee gets cold. So far I've been reading it and I've been enjoying it. I feel like it is what it is. You kind of get the perspectives of each of these different customers and some of the staff. It's such a cute kind of idea. There are some elements that can be a little bit, you know, tragic, but overall, I'm liking it so far. I'm more than halfway through it now and I'm enjoying it. I just thought that this was kind of a cute read, and if you are looking for like a magical realism sort of book, I think this one's kind of a nice one to read to pass the time and what have you. You'll probably see this in a future wrap-up because I'm almost done with it. I just found the cover also so adorable. That's the first book done. I think I rambled way too long. I just realized I forgot to put on my fairy lights. Excuse me. I don't think that made much of a difference. Continuing on, I've got the next book here that I picked up at the bookstore, and that is On Earth We're Briefly Gorgeous by Ocean Fong. This is a book that has been circulating around BookTube. Not as of late. When was this published? It was published in 2019, so I guess it has been a year or two since this has been circulating around, and I have seen this mentioned numerous times and I've just been curious. I even gifted this to one of my friends for their birthday. It's funny because I gifted it to them without even reading it myself, so I ended up purchasing it myself as well, just because I thought that it sounded kind of tragic but also uplifting, and I do hear that it is quite sad. It's basically sort of like an immigration story. Our main protagonist is writing this story to his mother who can't speak English at all, and it just sounds tragic, it sounds heartbreaking, and I think it's something that I wanted to pick up because having parents who had migrated to this Western society, and I feel like it's kind of like a subject matter that I can kind of relate to, and hence why I still struggle to pick this up because I'm scared of how sad I'll be when I read this, but it is something that I hear a lot of good things about, and so I ended up picking this book up quite a while ago actually. I think I've owned this one for a few months now, and I remember the day that I got it, I was reading it on the train back home and then I never continued on with it, so shame on me, but I do want to pick this up sometime soon and finish reading it. Of course, I probably need to restart the book. I am excited to read this, but I am preparing myself to be kind of heartbroken by it. I feel like it's something that would be relatable to a lot of people who are like second generation, who have parents that have immigrated to like a different culture entirely. It's just something that I personally struggled with as well growing up, just being an Asian but living in Australia. which was predominantly like a white society back in the days. Now it's like totally multicultural, and I feel like it's gotten a lot better, at least in Australia. I don't feel that sort of isolation, but definitely there is kind of a cultural divide that I do feel like I always feel kind of other, whether it's Western or my Asian background. So yeah, it's weird, and I feel like that book will be heart-wrenching, and I'm intimidated to read it, but I will try and get it read sometime in the near future. I need a drink. Okay, moving on to the next book. It's a bit more lighthearted. It is Kikis Delivery Service by Eiko Kadono. I pretty much got this because of the cover. I mean, look how adorable it is. Like, it's so cute. If you guys don't know this already, I'm a huge Studio Ghibli fan. I love the animated movie of Kikis Delivery Service. It's just so wholesome and so beautiful and so just happy. It's just a feel-good movie, and I just feel so uplifted and so positive after watching that. And so I decided to get this. So I had no idea that Kiki's Delivery Service was a book initially. So yeah, I'm very much intrigued. I tend to read a lot more darker fiction, so when I do want something a little bit more uplifting, a little bit more feel good, I will pick this one up. Illustrated by Joe Todd Stanton. Good on you, because this is beautiful. Oh, it does have some illustrations, like, I don't know, that's a very cute picture. I am very much intrigued, and I just think that this is gonna be an adorable read, and so I got it. It was kind of an impulse purchase, let's be real. That aloe vera is so good. The next one that I have here is also kind of a feel-good book, so I hear, and it is The House in the Cerulean Sea by TJ Klune. I've heard so many good things about this book. Again, look at this cover. It sounds like I'm like buying these books solely for the covers. Trust me, it's, I guess, a bit of both. I've been hearing a lot of good things about this book too. From what I hear, it is very, very wholesome and just very much a positive book, and it just has a positive outlook on life and whatnot. For some reason, I do get the vibe that it is set somewhat like, I don't know, 30 or 40 years ago. Maybe it's not. I'm not too sure what time period it is set in. I guess it's somewhat fantasy, but set in the modern day world. Our main protagonist, who's a caseworker in the department in charge of magical youth. And there's this facility that basically holds the most dangerous kids with these supernatural magical abilities. And so he's a caseworker that's assigned to these kids, and he goes to this place that's, I assume, by the sea, even though it's kind of an intimidating situation. However, I think it's revealed that these kids or these people living at this facility isn't that bad. Even though these kids probably have dangerous abilities, apparently it's just a very wholesome read, and it kind of shows a more positive outlook on life, and I just wanted to pick it up. Apparently it has very good representation as well. It's very diverse as well, which is a positive, and so I am looking forward to this one. I am really into like books that follow a story with people that have like supernatural powers and whatnot. The next one I have here is probably in the category of like literary fiction. It's called Expectation by Anna Hope, and I ended up picking this book up because apparently it's more about friendship. I'm always on the lookout for a good book about friendship. I tend to be more interested in how friendship is portrayed in literature, and so I always am looking for books that have a strong kind of relationship when it comes to friends. And so I don't know, I ended up picking this one up. It might not even have like a good representation of friendship. It was just a random kind of purchase. Basically, I think it follows like three girls who are a tight-knit trio of friends from childhood, I believe, and then I think it follows them 10 years later to see see where these girls are at, whether their relationships have faltered or whatnot. I'm hoping that this has a more realistic portrayal of friendship. I know I do want to see a lot of wholesome friendships in books so often, but I think that this one might be a little bit more of a realistic portrayal of the highs and lows of friends. Because you know, as much as we want that kind of ideal look on friendship where they could do no wrong and you know, we're besties for life, that's not reality. There have been instances for me where I do drift from friends that I've known from the past, or I've had like tragic friendship breakups, and so it is really heartbreaking. So I'm hoping that this has somewhat of a good portrayal of friendship. I feel like this might be slightly tragic, but I hope it has somewhat of an uplifting look on it as well. I don't know, we'll see. Even the image on the cover just looks very wholesome, but at the same time I feel like they're gonna go through some crap. I'm gonna look forward to this. Hopefully it's good. Like I said, that one was like kind of a random purchase. I didn't even look into what it's rated or anything. I just thought, oh cool, it's about friendship, I'm gonna buy it. So I ended up getting it. So stupid. The next book I have here I'm quite excited for, and it is These Violent Delights by Chloe Gong. I believe that this is a retelling of Romeo and Juliet, hence the title, set in Shanghai. And I guess there's not much more to say about it. A blood feud between two gangs. The two main character is actually called Juliet and Roma. Not very subtle at all. I did end up getting this from an owl crate, and I was so excited because I was gonna purchase it anyway, and then it came in an owl crate and I was so happy about it. I feel like Romeo and Juliet though is probably my least favorite Shakespeare play that I've read. I feel like it's so annoying how it ends. Like it's just a miscommunication after miscommunication, and I'm just like, by the end of it I'm like, yeah, you both deserve to die. I guess that's a bit morbid of me, but you know, I just feel like it was stupid and everyone dies and it's so annoying. I don't know if that's gonna be the ending for These Violent Delights. Who knows? Maybe they might have a happier ending. Who knows? But we all know how Romeo and Juliet ends, so we shall see. Anything with like gang wars, I'm into it. And it's set in Asia. Yes, please. I feel like Chloe has some good substance to work with. So let's just leave that and move on to the next books that I have. So these last three books were my most recent purchases when I went to the bookstore. I've got 3 here. Also completely random purchases. Like, okay, so this is why I love going into bookstores. You know how all book lovers just like going to bookstores and just browse and peruse the shop and what have you. But I love going into bookstores and honestly just finding books that I wouldn't normally be exposed to, and just finding like these treasured random finds. And it's kind of how I used to buy books. Like I would go to the bookstore and just pick up random books that sounded intriguing to me, and that was pre-booktube. That's just how I usually picked up books. I wouldn't even do any research on it. I don't know if that's a good or bad thing, but we'll see. When you buy a lot of books, it kind of adds up, so you do want to spend your money wisely. But sometimes I do just like going into bookstores and just purchasing random books that sound intriguing to me. So the first one that I have here is Jamaica Kinkade by Annie John. I don't know what it was about this book. Maybe it was the publishing company. The publishing company for this is Farrar, Straus and Gorox? I don't know. It's the little symbol with the 3 fishes. I don't know if you can see that, but that. I do have a few books that are published under this publishing company, and they always have these like really floppy books, and it just feels really nice. I just like the images and I like the design. Honestly, I just picked it up solely because I liked the cover. I mean, I don't know, it's a vibe. I just like how that kid's just like chilling in that chair. Honestly, I don't know anything about this aside from the fact that it's kind of a coming of age story. I feel like coming of age stories can be a little hit or miss because sometimes I can really relate to it and sometimes I can't relate to it at all. I either end up loving it or hating it. Well, not really hating it, but like just being disappointed by it. But hopefully this is one that I will love. It's a book that I've never heard of. Like, I've never actually heard anyone talking about this. So this is truly a random find. I'm hoping that it's a gem that I pick up, but I don't know. It might end up being horrible and I hate it, but I'm rooting for this one to be good. So incredibly random. And the next one that I got is Diary of a Murderer and Other Stories by Kim Young-ha. And this is a Korean translated work, and I believe that this is a series of short stories. I honestly got this because I thought Diary of a Murderer, it sounds like a Korean movie that I've watched. So I did no research on this. This was also a completely random find at the bookstore, and I was like, it kind of sounds like Memoirs of a Murderer. Murder? I watched that movie at the cinemas at the end of last year. It's an old movie, by the way. A cinema that I like to go to. Often they were showing like old school movies, and then me and my friend went to watch it. It was amazing. Anyway, the title kind of reminded me of that movie, and I feel like the crime genre is a genre that I love when I read it, but it's not a genre that I often read. And so I thought that this would be interesting. Even though I'm Korean, I feel so bad not reading a lot of Korean literature, so I need to rectify that, and so I ended up picking this book up. I think the only book that I read by a Korean author, oh no, I read two. I read The Vegetarian and what is it? Princess Bari. The book's over there. They're the only two books that are written by Korean authors. I feel like there's a severe lack of Korean literature that I'm missing out on, and so I definitely need to be on the lookout for more books by Korean authors. I'm sure there must have been more books that are read by Korean authors than just two, but they're the two books that kind of stick out to me. And so I was just like, yeah, I'm just gonna get this because why not? It seems like Diary of a Murderer is quite honestly half the book, and then obviously they have a few short stories after, and I'm intrigued. I don't know, I feel like there is a movie called Diary of a Murderer. There might be two very completely different stories, but I was intrigued. This cover looks very much like a mystery. Is it gonna be scary? Is it gonna be thrilling? Who knows, but I am intrigued. I ended up getting it. Yeah. Nothing more to say on that one. And the lucky last book that I have here, this is truly the randomest purchase that I've made, but I was just so intrigued, and also the cover. Damn these publishing companies and their stupid appealing cover arts that just get me. Get my consumeristic mind, and yeah, I ended up getting it. I think it's a collection of short stories. I don't know if it all adds up to being one story or not, but it is 100 Apocalypses and Other Apocalypses by Lucy Corin. This sounds so incredibly stupid, so bizarre. It has 4 apocalyptic stories that you follow. One's called Eyes of Dogs, the other one is called Madman, the third one is called Godzilla versus the Smog Monster. Very intrigued. I think after I saw that title, I was like, yeah, I'm gonna get this book. And then the last one is 100 Apocalypses. And if you just look at this cover, first of all, beautifully designed, but if you like look closely at all the different ways the earth can be destroyed, it's just, it intrigued me. It definitely intrigued me. And I know like 2020 was like a very difficult time in our life, and I know a lot of people like shied away from like apocalyptic fiction or whatnot. I'm a weirdo, and when we're going through some crap in our lives, I tend to read books that kind of reflect what's going on in my life. And so when we were going through, you know, what happened in 2020, I was actively kind of searching for more apocalyptic fiction. Even though I didn't end up reading a lot of apocalyptic fiction at the end of the day, yeah, I was more intrigued. I was kind of like, you know, looking for things that were about the end of the world. It was just a genre that I've always liked, but yeah, last year particularly, I was like, yeah, I want to read more apocalyptic fiction. I'm a weirdo. What can you do about that? But this one, I'm so intrigued. I think that this is more tongue-in-cheek. I don't know, who knows? It might be serious, but I have a feeling that it's more kind of comical. It's kind of like a satirical take on apocalypses, and I was intrigued. And Sam is barking his head off. I am so sorry, but good timing, Sam, because those were all the books that I ended up picking up during the last few months. Here it is. Here is my purchases I hope you enjoyed. Let me know what you guys have purchased recently, and if you have read any of these, please let me know, because I am curious to find out what people think of it. Do you recommend it to me? Should I read it ASAP? Let me know. I hope you guys enjoyed. Did you guys discover any new ones from my stack? Thank you guys for watching again, if you've watched to the end of this video. I hope you guys enjoyed, and happy reading, guys. I will see you in my next video. Bye!